Hi guys, Sam here. We're midday, December 6th. I thought I'd take a look here at Bitshares. Now, this was a request from a member, and for some reason, this is a coin I just have not paid attention to. And I'm absolutely astonished that I haven't, because this is some of the best technical trading we've seen in a while. Now, I've got this kind of a follow-up to a question I got from a member yesterday as to where's the preference to trade it against, trade any alt against Bitcoin or against the US dollar. And as I sort of outlined yesterday, you know, as long as there's liquidity, I don't have a strong preference. Where's the better technical trading happening? And because I'm not really interested in about where, I'm not a long-term trader. I'm a swing trader. And what I'm showing you is swing trading techniques that certainly can be applied long-term to daily charts and beyond. But the bulk of the trading that we do is off the 1 hour and the 4 hour. If we go to the 15-minute, that's for precision entry and trying to get a sort of a fine-tuning on where we are in a count. So I've got this is the 4 hour. So on the left here, you can see I had to scrunch it up so you can see it. This is Bitshares to Bitcoin. Now, if we go, if you're not familiar with this coin, I didn't really know a lot about it. I go over to CoinGecko. That's where I always use as a reference. And as I've told you many times, look for a score of 50 or higher. To put that in context, Bitcoin has a score of 95, Ethereum 84. Right, so out of what are we 1,200 plus coins now, if you stick with 50 or higher, you're going to be in good shape, right? So that doesn't mean that I wouldn't say don't ever trade a coin that has a score lower, but I would approach with due caution that you may not have the same liquidity, the same technical patterns that volume will bring to the market. So here at 61, this is certainly a legitimate coin. Now, most of the trading is in Bitcoin, but so if I go, if I go over to my list here, we can see, this is, it's in the top 20-ish coins here. We're a market cap of 500 million. It's on the move today, certainly against the dollar, and not quite as much against Bitcoin. If I can find it down here. But we're going to go look. So let me bring it up on the chart so you can see it. So, here, if you look at it here, we can look at the volume today. So it's about the same. Here, it's only available for us in the U.S. against Poloniex. So here it is to the dollar, and here it is to Bitcoin. And we're looking at the percentage change. So a substantially higher change in the dollar to Bitcoin. So looking at that and looking at the volume being about the same. So, of course, I'm going to want to look at it against the dollar. I don't have any bias that I'm only going to trade alts against Bitcoin, but I'm curious to look at both. So if I bring up the charts of the two, then here you can see it. So they're similar, right? So big pump, big dump, right? This is a good example over here. This is the dollar on the right of when your long downtrend starts to break, substantially, and you have clear evidence of a new trend underway. So it's so good against the dollar. Let's go there first. Okay, so long downtrend. Really, it's not worth going through putting a count on this. I promise you, I can see technical trading in there. But all we know is that after this huge run up and this huge dump, which we see all the time in crypto, right? So now something new is clearly happening, right? With this, here's the attempts to break the Vegas wave. There's the break. Now we hold the Vegas wave. So we're on the other side of it. So good evidence that we have a new trend underway and a significant pivot here. So let me open this up and let's just do a little rudimentary analysis on this, right? So I'm trying to, you don't have to complicate this, right? So Elliott wave can get complex, but it can also, if you just work from, one of the things that I often tell new traders and new students, new members, is that if you can't spot the Elliott wave, just at first glance to the market, perhaps you want to keep moving. But when it's just staring you in the face and you almost can't help but see it, that's when you really want to drill down and see if there's maybe an opportunity setting up for you, because when you see the Elliott wave being demonstrated in the market and that it's there and that it's technical, well, that gives you that's your tell that this is a place where you want to focus because of that technical trading, because the assumption is that it will stay technical until proven otherwise. So if just some quick analysis here, right? So this is just absolutely beautiful. So we hear those attempts to get through the long downtrending Vegas wave, and so we're getting the first clues of, we had this long series of lower lows and lower highs, lower high, lower low, lower high, low, and then all of a sudden here we start to break. Now we've got a higher high and a higher low. So signs that perhaps we're starting to turn the corner. Well, there's some sort of an ugly diagonal here to give us a one wave. So I can just work from this and go, okay, well that's my first break. There's my 2. Well, this sure looks like a 3. That looks like a 4, and that looks like maybe we put in some sort of a 5. So potentially I have a start now on a new trend. So I would have my wave 1 in play. Well, let's check it and see, is it trading technically? What can we learn from this? So, given some sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a leading diagonal into a one wave. Well, again, just very, very simple stuff. I'm just going to pull from my 2 to my 3. All right, so from my 2 to my 3, here's my 4. We front run the 50 by a couple of ticks, and now target here is the negative 23. And we see they're almost there, right? So the likely target here, it typically will be front run by a tick or two. But so clear evidence, right, that we have algo footprints here. So here's the front run on the 50. Here's their target. We may be there while I'm recording this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, if given that, okay, so I've got a clear impulsive wave. So what do we know then? Given that, if we have that impulsive count, then I can work from my absolute low to my high, and again, we don't know that it stops there, but potentially we get a 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me put that in a different color and raise the degree. Okay, so let's go to minuet. Okay. So potentially, right? Again, we don't know that it's going to turn here. We know that's the algo target from here. From this pivot low to this pivot, that's their target, right? We're likely to see a reaction there. So now projecting yet again, I'm going to look and see, well, can I learn anything from, as we would typically measure, looking for a pivot high? I'm going to take the length of my 1. I'm going to project it from my 4 low, and now I've got this confluence zone here. So I get a nice little overlap here where I've got my 1618, right, and I've got my, I've got my 227 and my 2618. It's that extreme. So and then I've got my box here. I've got my 16. Pardon me. Here's my negative 23. Sorry, it's actually higher than I thought it is. Here's my 227 to my 2618. So this would be an extreme here for the 5th to get to 2618 of the length of the 1. Right, but I'm also going to project, just because I want to check all the major pivots, I'm going to project from my 2 low to my 3 and project from my 4. Okay, well, I get another overlap here. So I'd be looking for potentially 100%. So I'm kind of building location here for potential pivots, not because I'm looking to short the market, not because I'm trying to short. I'm looking for a potential pivot with which I can start to project for a 2 low. We don't have it yet. This likely given the algo range, right? So likely target there. So let's work back through this, pull some of this off. So if you're not in this now, well, the idea is not to be trying to short here. The idea is to be looking for this to pivot, and then we're looking for something along the lines of an ABC to bring us back into it too. So, just not a bad idea to keep this to, kind of as a reminder. So maybe you keep this off to the side, right? And you say, okay, well, if and when I get a pivot here, if I do get a pivot there, well, then I know that I'm going to be looking for a 3-wave correction. And again, knowing that if we did pivot up here and we start to correct it, well, then I'm looking for a correction of the entire move, the completed 5-wave structure. So I'm going to work from my absolute low, and again, hypothetical, if we pivot here or here, doesn't matter for the sake of the example. I'm looking for the next entry into the second wave because, again, remembering the long-term picture, this is, if indeed we've got a new trend underway, this is just my one wave. I'm looking for the two. So the entry in the two is the opportunity to get into the three of the new trend, which is your money-making wave, right? So if we can find entry into that, so a buy here, we'd have, you know, some pretty substantial upside targets, right? This has all got to get moved up and off until we know otherwise that that's not the count that we're experiencing. What I can see with absolute clarity is that I've got a 5-wave structure that's approaching some likely targets. Now, nothing says that we don't just keep ripping here. We do not have to stop. This can just keep going and keep going. We may end up relabeling it. We may end up with a 1-2, 1-2. We don't know. I mean, just look at how many times we've relabeled Bitcoin. But if I get a pivot here, I'm paying attention now. This coin then gets on my watch list, my radar, because I know it's trading technically. Right? So absolutely one to be watching. And as I'm going to move this off to the side, right? And let's pull this off, because we can look at the breakdown here. So let's go down to the 1 hour. And you can see this, just how beautifully this is trading. So we can break down. So look at the subdivision here. This is, again, just more evidence to validate your interest in this coin. Because look, if we get 3, 4, so we get an A, B, C, and then we get a 1, 2. Now look at this. So here's the 4. Well, so this is where you got to have a little knowledge, a little understanding of what's happening and where the tell is. So we have in here, we get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So potentially we have a double top, right? So one thought would be, okay, we've double topped here. The other, someone else might look at this and think, okay, well, maybe that's my 3, 4, 5, and here's my 2. Well, I would propose to you that is less likely than what I'm going to show you here. So what I think we've got here is a 1 here, a 2 here, a 3 here, and a 4 here, giving us to the 5. Now, why is that important? Because it's going to affect where we're going to project from. So if I let me take that to a smaller degree. Let me take that and put it in yellow. Let's put it in blue, and let's go down a degree. Yeah, come here. Let's go down. We'll go down to, that'll work. Okay. So the reason I think this, because these kind of pivots like that don't happen by accident. So note how the Vegas wave caught it just perfectly. So because I can see a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 within the 1 wave. Now I'm looking for 3-wave subdivision in my B wave, but if it's going to stay impulsive, excuse me, I don't want to see this wick get taken out as a potential 1. Now, if this is my 1 here, if it's 3, 4, 5, right, then I've got a diagonal. Now, that still could play, but if you look closely at it, it overlaps it by just 2 ticks. So if I put this right on the high, right on it, here's my 1. You see that? Just barely overlaps it, okay? Barely overlaps it. So my hypothesis is that we don't have, so let me scrunch it up. And let me pull back out here. So that this actually is our 1. So I move it over here. And what I see is an A, B, an expanded flat, because I can see a 3-wave structure in there into my 2-wave here. So I think that's 1, and then we've got A, B, C here. We've got A down here, B here, and C here. So let me take the wave off of that. Come on. Get off of there. Let's go to a smaller degree. Let's go to that. Okay, so that gives us an A, 3-wave A, 3-wave B, and then down into the C. And we'll just for fun, let's measure that. Look for that relationship between the A wave and the B wave. Right, so we're through the 100, just shy of the 1272, but I think that is the more likely our 1, because I can get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that 1. We hold the 4 here, so it affects where I'm projecting as to whether I'm projecting for an impulse wave or whether I'm projecting for a diagonal to finish the 5th. Right, so given that, let me pull that off. So now I'm going to measure that 2 because I want to check that for, okay. So well, look at that. So we know a 2 can go anywhere from the 50 to the 786. We get a wick through the 61865 box, but then look where we go. So here's the algo target. First one, second one, right to the negative 100. So an extreme, but likely target for a third. So if I pull here, look up to my 1, down from my 2. What's the most likely location for a third wave? Right between the 1618 and the 175. Right there. So thus my point being, I'm sort of backtracking into how I got that. Because the fact that we don't overlap here, but we do here, and that this projection here puts me right into the box for my third. Gives me my fourth here. So let me pull that off. Right? Just doing the work that you need to do. So if that's my 2, pull this off. So now we're retracing from my 2 here to my 3 high. Now note, right? So it's front run, but from the 618, but it's also front run from the overlap of the 1 wave. And here's the target. Here's the algo target. Do you see that? So you've got already here, they've already taken profit. Right? And it may be that you've already seen the reaction there. So there's the negative 23. That's the algo target. We'd also want to consider, right? We also have a hot box up here. So if it's going to keep going, let's look at it this way. We'd look at the relationship from the 1 wave to the 4 wave. Right? There's the 1618, 175 relative to the 1 from the 4. So we're getting a pretty good cluster up here. So we've got it twice. So if we're going to keep going, right? So now, again, look, see, notice how it's subdividing yet again. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 within the 3. We get an A, B, C, just as we got an A, B, C here. Remember, we trend in 5s, we correct in 3s. So I've got an A, B, C into my 4th. Well, I may well have, this may be, we may have a 1, 2, 3, 4, looking to put in a 5 up here. All right, we may well have one more push if I were to go to the 15-minute. So now, again, it's waves within waves. So if I open this up, well, I may have a 1, 2, 3, 4, right here. If we had a little diagonal into the 1, 3, 4, and it looks like we're going to finish with an ending diagonal, right? So again, it's waves within waves within waves. It's the fractal nature of Elliott wave and how the market moves. So, you start to break all of that down and you create these hot boxes. These are all potential pivots. What's the point of doing all that work? Well, if I go back to the hourly and I scrunch this up, well, what do I know? Well, let's go to the 4 hour actually. We need to go all the way, here's the 3, that'll do it. So if I look at that, I know we're back here. So I'm potentially completing my 1 wave of the larger degree, right? Remember, we went through all of that. So what I'm looking for is that pivot where I can confidently start projecting as a completed structure. Because of all the subdivision, it's telling me it's 5 within 5 within 5. Now I'm looking for the 50% for the wave 2, looking for the third. You see that? So that's the point of doing all of that work, measuring that all out, is so that you have a high degree of confidence in the pivots that you're working with. Right? That's the advantage you get from doing the work, to quantify where you are in an Elliott count based on those fib relationships between swings, whether it's internal retracements as we have here or external projections based on relationships of 1 wave projected from the last pivot to the new wave. Do you see that? So now we're looking for, we don't know where it's going to pivot. We don't know. Don't know. But I know if it's in one of these boxes that it's technical. And now from there, if we're up here, if it's there, then I'm looking for my 50% for my wave 2 because I am all teed up for the third wave. If this is going to be a new trend, right, and this is going to go, I got lots of juicy upside. I got lots of upside, right? And this all stayed technical, so I have much more confidence being a buyer as a potential 2 wave, anticipating that I'm going to get a 3 wave subdivision into my 2. Just as I did here, just as I did here, just as I did here. No reason to assume that it changes until it does. You trade it until it fails. Right? How am I on time? That's 20 minutes. Okay, let me quickly go over to Bitcoin because it's the same idea here, right? So this is a very common thing we're seeing in alts, right? That we've seen this. I mean, you can bring up 100 alts, and it was exactly what you're going to see on a longer term chart. Up, down, right? So what do you do? Do you just bail on alts and just put everything in Bitcoin? Well, some would tell you that hasn't been a bad move so far. But look at the potential upside, right? Even just a return to previous highs. There's plenty of good trading there. Well, how would we know when that starts? Well, the first thing on the looking here on the 4-hour, here's our Vegas wave. I want to see it start to hold above the Vegas wave. That would be the first sign that I want to pay attention. So let's go down and look at this low down here. Do we have any technical trading here that might help us? Because it's certainly been good in the dollar. Well, here it is on the 4-hour. So same thing here. I get a low. So it looks to me like I may have a 1, 2, 3 potentially. But look at that. So let's label it. So potentially I've got a pivot low here I'm working from. There's my 2, potentially my 3, 4, potentially my 5. Right now we don't know that it keeps going there, but we certainly have potential for this. So given the overlap of the 1, what do I have? All right. So now I've got a diagonal. I've got a leading diagonal. Let me, if I can put the line on it. I've got a leading diagonal here. All right. So potentially it's that megaphone pattern, right? This is what you see in a leading diagonal. So that's your potentially your one wave, diagonal only found, leading diagonal only found in a 1 wave or an A wave. So this is all teed up rather nicely as a potential 1 wave, just not in the dollar. We had an impulse. In Bitcoin, so far, Bitshares to Bitcoin, it appears that we've got a leading diagonal. So there would be your target. Right. Now, in a leading diagonal, so let's just quickly do the work here. So there's the 1 wave, right to the hot box for the 2. Where do we go? Right? Does it look like algos are in here? They go right into the hot box. There's the 61865 box. Perfect trade for the 2. Where do they take it? Well, there's the first target, reaction. They go to the tick, to the negative 618. This is the absolute extreme. So we have this potentially setting up here, right? If we're going to get the finishing move from the 4 here to go up to the 5, that wouldn't surprise me at all. Right, so far, very technical. Now, because it's a diagonal, we're going to approach it a little bit differently. So in a diagonal, we're looking for the relationship from the start of the move to the top of the 3rd. Because of the overlap here, we change the draw. In a diagonal, we're going to pull from the 2, pardon me. In an impulse, we're going to pull from the 2 to the 3. In a diagonal, we pull from the start of it, from the start of the 1 to the 3, looking for the 4 to stay technical and hold somewhere between the 50 and the 618, right? Because if it's going to hold at the 38, we'd have held the 1. Right, you see that? If it were going to be an impulse, we'd have held here and moved higher. The fact that we break it, we get that ABC down into a 4. Now I'm going to project a little bit differently. So there's my algo target. Now I'm also, if I'm going to project the length for an alternate projection, I'm going to take the start of the move to the 3 and project from the 4. Common targets for a diagonal would be the 100%. 1272 in an extreme. So I've got a couple of boxes here. Right, given those pivots, even though I have the trend lines here, I can't resist. Given I've got some good pivots, I certainly want to pay attention to the pitchfork. And look what we do. Right, so you got it's all right there. So look here. So here's your corner pocket trade. Right, we know that was technical. So there's your corner pocket trade. We've got an 80% probability from here of getting to the median line. We hit it. Finish one more time. Look how many times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Bang in the median line. Right? Just working off of those 2. So, potentially you've got a good swing here. Then it comes back down. So now I'm going to draw it yet again. Same thing. So now I've got 3 pivots. Let me pull this off. Okay, there's a potential target up there. Now I'm going to work from this swing low to my 3, down to my 4. Well, we've already got the corner pocket in. We've already got the first hit from there, right? We went right to the median line, retrace, back to the median line. So now But so looking at that, right? So what would we likely have? So it certainly looks to me like potentially we've got a 1, 2. Now, if this is going to keep going, we need the 3, 4, and 5. You see that? Right. So does that make sense? Could that play? Do we have a potential roadmap? Right. Well, certainly, you know, we've got these. This is the algo target. We know we've got that from this 50. There's the algo target. There's the 100%. We've already hit the median line twice. So do we go through now? Do we go from here to the upper edge, to the upper parallel? You know, we're gonna stay in sync with the trend line for the leading diagonal. We've got pivots here to work from. If you're not in it, well, there's no trade now. Right, the last trade was here, here. Those were the trades. If you're not in now, you're on the sidelines. You're waiting. But that doesn't mean you've missed it. It just means you're not in yet. Because all that's happening is we're trying to carve out the one wave. So the more technical this stays, again, the whole point here is to build confidence in how the market's moving. Is it moving with an Elliott wave structure? Can we get a 3, 4, 5 here? Are we going to return to the median line? If so, then all we're doing is carving out a potential 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put that in a larger degree so you can get some context on that. Let me go to intermediate. Okay, so let's then back that all out. So if you look at that relative to where, so when you open it up, right, when you do this, you're like, holy smokes, those are huge moves. That's awesome. Look at all the opportunity there. But when you shrink it back and you look at where you are relative to where you could be going, you just this is the first little bump. That's nothing in terms of look where it's been. Right, again, right. So the point is, we're just putting in a potential one wave. Look, if we're going to go back to challenge those old highs, you got a long way to go. So if you looked at that, you can say, well, I'm just going to, you know, one approach. I suppose you make the case that, well, I just buy it when it gets this low. It's a good project. It's a good CoinGecko score is 61. It's got a market cap of half a billion dollars. You know, good project. It's been around for 3 years. You know, what's not to like? So I'm just going to buy here. Well, you'd be buying a whole lot of alts if you were just doing that. I mean, how are you going to pick them? You know, do you have enough money to just continually buy every alt that's gone up and then been crushed against Bitcoin? If you do, good for you. But if not, and you want to be more strategic and you want to be a swing trader, well, then I propose to you this is the better way to do it, right? Because there's plenty of money to be made down here. Right, as I open this up, right? So you got to keep it. That's why keeping a daily and some perspective, even on the 4 hour, keeping some perspective on where you are in the larger picture. So this piddly little 3, 4, 5 here, we're just getting started. That was my point being. If you're not in now, don't feel like, oh man, that was so good. I missed it. No, you're just missing. Well, this is also the higher risk time to be buying it, right? Because this is the establishment of the new trend. It's trying to establish, and right now we don't have confirmed a new high to give us 5 waves. It certainly looks good, looks technical. It looks like it's likely to happen, but we don't know that it's going to happen. But if it did, I would have a whole lot more confidence being a buyer here at the 2, looking for the 3, knowing potentially where it could go. Right? You see that? Okay, guys, I'll wrap it there.